This episode of Engineering the Future is brought to you by The Personal, OSPI's home and auto insurance partner. These past few months have shown us just how important it is to have someone in your corner. When it comes to home and auto insurance, The Personal can be that someone. If you would like to learn more about this exclusive program, visit thepersonal.com/OSPI.
This podcast is brought to you by OSPI, the Ontario Society of Professional Engineers, the advocacy body for professional engineers in the engineering community in Ontario.
Welcome to Engineering the Future, a podcast presented by the Ontario Society of Professional Engineers. I'm going to be your host today. My name is Jerome James. Today I'm joined with the Dean of the Faculty of Engineering at McMaster University, Dean Ishwar Puri. And we also have a fourth-year chemical engineering student and the president of the McMaster chapter of the National Society of Black Engineers, Feyisayo Enuiyin. Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you, Jerome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for having us.
No worries. It's great to be able to sit down and talk and let's just jump right into it. As you both know, diversity and inclusion in engineering is a major focus for OSPI, and that is shared at your institution, McMaster. We both share these values. Dean Puri, you recently announced several initiatives to make engineering at McMaster more inclusive, including the Indigenous and Black Engineering/Technology PhD fellowship. What is this initiative and how did it come out to be?
I think it's important that when we look at injustice, or when we look at historical efforts to not provide opportunities to certain populations, what we call systemic racism or systemic misogyny nowadays, it's very important to have very thoughtful ways of addressing these circumstances. The Indigenous and Black Engineering and Technology Fellowships are a result of that. At McMaster Engineering, we've had an effort to address the entire arc of the development of an engineer. So, for instance, we are developing outreach activities for populations that have been historically marginalized. We want to bring students into first-year engineering. We would like to support them and then ensure that they graduate. And after they graduate, we want them to provide them with opportunities to go on to advanced degrees such as the PhD, and then also have some PhDs become role models as faculty members. And so at McMaster, Faye will describe an effort that she has spearheaded to establish a scholarship for Black undergraduate students. We have fellowships now for PhD students who are Indigenous or Black. And we're also engaging in Black cohort hire to address marginalization, the fact that we have few Black faculty members. And so it's that whole arc. In that arc, the Indigenous Black and Engineering Technology Fellowships fit in because they provide opportunities for Indigenous and Black scholars to become PhD students and contribute to Canada and also further the aspirations that they have and of their communities. This is a collaborative effort of 6 Ontario institutions, started at the University of Waterloo through my colleague, Dean Mary Wells. And the engineering deans community is remarkably collaborative. We came together very rapidly. We established these fellowships, and we're now talking to federal agencies So one of the federal agencies that we are talking to, thanks to my colleague Chris Yip, Dean of Engineering at U of T, is to provide these students with internship opportunities with university through the MyTax program. So I think addressing historical marginalization is an arc of development all the way from youth through PhDs and professors and other researchers and supporting them. And it's like a jigsaw puzzle where you have to figure out how to fit in the pieces of the puzzle and not just focus on one thing that will increase numerical representation, but have a supportive arc that will go throughout the career of an individual.
Very interesting. Sounds like many years in the making. You've established this community of deans in Ontario. It's very interesting. Do you see any support outside of the faculty at McMaster? What else is happening as in the McMaster community as a whole to address systemic racism and marginalization on campus?
There have been historical events that have forced us to look into the mirror and see what we really are as a university, as a faculty of engineering, as a nation, as a society. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission had several recommendations. And the second example I would point out to was the, some might call it murder, of George Floyd, which led to the Black Lives Matter movement being enhanced in the United States, and that spread worldwide. It brought a new realization. The realization had always been there, but it brought a new realization about the systemic racism that Black people face.
Right.
And so we have a responsibility to Indigenous populations because of our settler history in North America. This was their land and we settled here. We have a historical responsibility towards Black peoples whose migration to North America was not always voluntary. And even when it was, they faced discrimination and marginalization. And we owe other populations that intersect with these communities, women, LGBTQ, and those populations by themselves, which have been marginalized, which weren't given the vote, for instance, and who haven't participated as robustly as their talents would allow them to. So I think we've looked at our mirror much more carefully as a society. And whereas we move through government initiatives, I think that when we take local initiatives, like Feyisayo has done, it is then that we start to make real progress. We have to take the responsibility for our own local communities. So I think systemic racism is like anything else. We have to think globally about it, about its reasons and consequences, but we also have to act locally. We have to find local solutions. Otherwise, we put off the responsibility on policymakers and political leaders, but we don't take charge of the situation. So I think this is just our way at McMaster Engineering to take charge of the situation and do what we think it is responsible. And the community of deans of engineering in Canada is truly very special. Unlike many other communities, we talk about these issues, we are invested in solutions, and we collaborate on solutions.
Right.
These are exceptional leaders.
Interesting. Yeah. It's very important to be proactive and take charge. I definitely hear that. Feyisayo, you're now completing your 4th year of engineering at McMaster. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience over the years and how you've evolved since your first year on campus?
Definitely. Thank you for asking that. I would say over the years, my experience at McMaster has definitely been very progressive. Um, where obviously, as we can see, where things are now was not where they were before. I was that I was that student who came from a very diverse background. You know, I grew up in Toronto, a Etobicoke region to be specific, and so I grew up with all kinds of cultures around me. Very used to that, and coming to Hamilton, coming to McMaster University, more specifically within my engineering class, I definitely didn't see many that looked like me. I saw a group of students, and majority of them were all international students. And I quickly became friends with those group of students. For
Interesting.
me, I'm that kind of person when I walk into a room, you know, especially I didn't really attend Flash Week, so I didn't have that engagement per se to like, you know, make friends doing that. And so for me, my first day of class, my first day of university experience was really going to class. And in doing that, you know, engineering is a collaborative effort. We see that all the time with students. Like, I don't know if I could have made it without my peers, my professors helping me. And so looking for that, you know, peers to support me in that, I quickly, again, I look for the people who are kind of look like me. I find it, for me, it's easier for me to be able to relate. I'm not saying that I'm not going to go make friends with someone that doesn't. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying for the first interaction, at least the icebreaker, I find it more comfortable for me to go to within a group of people that I feel comfortable with. And feel like I share similar experiences with, similar cultures with, and that's what it was for me. So I quickly became friends with those friends, and throughout our journey, I would say that there has been an improvement over the years, you know, getting involved with McMaster University. So I got involved beyond Faculty of Engineering. I work with the
Right.
Student Success Center.
Oh,
Helped out with
interesting.
I helped out with Welcome Week. I met students that were, you know, every year I was that person who was giving out green wristbands to every single first year that was coming on campus. I love getting to meet new students. And within that, whenever I would see, you know, a black student come in, whether especially if it was a black girl coming into engineering, I'll never forget. There's a student called Laura, and coming in, like I believe her name is Laura. She won the I think the TD scholarship for engineering. So she was basically coming into Eng with a scholarship. She was no, I think she was known within the she was really known within the faculty of engineering. And when I saw her, my instant reaction to her was, "Wow, I'm so happy that you're here." I do not know
Mm.
what made me say that. I did not know who this girl was. I just knew that she was a black student. I knew that she was coming into engineering, and instantly it won my heart. No, I didn't have anything to benefit from her. I'm just another student like myself, not even in the same program, not in the same year. And those are the kind of things that I've seen over the years, the increased number of students that we have coming in, not just the Faculty of Engineering, but to McMaster as a whole. And the
Right.
reason why I say progressive is because, again, it shows that, you know, the advocacy that students have been doing on campus has been heard. It means that the work that I've been putting in with NESB and speaking on behalf of students, the work like my other peers who are not even within the Faculty of Engineering, whether it's like Africans, whether it's the other Black clubs, the law aspiring Black students, whether it's the Black aspiring physicians, those
Right.
clubs and your Black clubs on campus and the student advocacy that happens around McMaster University, it shows us that progress is being made. You know, it has been slow. There are times that I did feel like, you know, nobody was listening. There were times like that, but I would definitely say overall, it's been a very progressive experience.
Right, right. And you don't need to apologize for, feeling that sense of community or camaraderie, to see that, because you understand the struggle and the effort it took. It's really nice to be able to appreciate someone else going through the same motions and making it and getting to that same level that you were able to get to. Yeah, I can definitely appreciate that, and that sense of being proud. You don't know why, but you are. What was that? What was that spark that inspired you to pursue engineering in the first place?
I think for me, it came down to one, I like math. I like math. Apart from liking math, I also like chemistry, so I figured chemical engineering. Well, all in all, the idea of what engineering was introduced to me because I had family members. I came from a typical Nigerian family, so I grew up around lawyers, doctors, nurses, scientists, researchers, engineers. I grew up around that, and so that's something that I've always wanted.
And
Not, I wouldn't say always
we know
wanted,
that this is typical for that type of. You said Nigerian, right?
but
Most of society doesn't realize that the work ethic that comes out of Nigerian households, and it's nice to be able to share that story and make sure that people realize and understand, that diverse backgrounds, you can get some really professional pedigree out of that lineage. So it's very interesting, and it's important to share your story in that regard.
Definitely.
As a president of McMaster's chapter of the National Society of Black Engineers, you recently launched a scholarship for Black students. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, we recently launched a scholarship that has been my what's that word that I usually hear people used to describe when things happen, and they're shocked by it or they feel proud. My joy, and probably one of the most important things, or the most important thing to me that I've done within my academic journey at McMaster University. I must say that this scholarship came with years of advocacy. It wasn't solely by my efforts or the efforts of the current team. It was efforts of students that have been part of NSBE for many years, going all the way back to when NSBE was founded, the year 2010, from our founding members to the previous executives that have always wanted this. It was quite interesting when I remember speaking to a former exec, and I'm like, I think we should start a scholarship. And they're like, yeah, we actually thought about that as well, but, it wasn't possible. And then I speak with the other ones above them, and it's like, yeah, we also thought about that, but it wasn't possible. And so it was quite, it was a very joyous, moment when, through the meetings, when Dr. Puri mentioned when the Black Lives Matter movement, brought so much awareness last year. And I remember, sending in letters to the faculty, not really expecting, I don't know what I expected. I just know that they reached out and I said, well, this is how I feel and this is what I want. I didn't know whether or not it was going to be given to us. I was hopeful, but I didn't really know what would come out of that. And so for me, it was definitely a very joyous moment when all this came about, and through the meetings and creating the fundraising page. And I think that's when it really hit us, when we saw the money going up and up. It's like, wow,
right?
We're making, wow, this is actually real, unbelievable. McMaster Faculty of Engineering is doing this. And I think that was the feeling that, all the previous, we even made like a president group chat because of that. I'm talking with people that, left McMaster 10 years ago, and they're in the chat as well. Like, oh my God, like we actually have this. Is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's a very joyous moment the community felt. And we're not excited solely because of, this is it and this is all we have to do. We're excited because it's like, wow, a change is happening. Like, we feel heard, we feel seen, and we feel understood. And I think that is the most important thing that the scholarship brings. It brings,
right.
It shows.
Yeah. Sorry, I wanted to elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah.
If you could step back a bit and look at it and from a more of a macro level, up above you personally, why is it important for Black youth to see themselves in engineering?
We hope you're enjoying this episode so far. At OSPE, we're here for you, making sure government, media, and the public are listening to the voice of engineers. You can learn more at ospe.on.ca.
It's important because you cannot be what you cannot see. Again, I saw engineering was very much possible because I saw it was being done. I had my cousins that would go and co-op and they would have to live in my house. It was very much a reality. Like for me, it was like, well, engineering is like, you study hard, it's not, if they could do it, I can do it. And that was kind of the perception that I have, even, what I'm currently being in uni at. I think what allowed me to persevere and continue, because it's like I always say, it's not like a baby food. It wasn't a walk in the park for me. It was very challenging. Was because, there was examples being set, professors I would go to that would tell me, to keep on going. And so it cannot be what you cannot see. And I think, for a lot of Black youth growing up, I understood that I came from, the Nigerian family, whatever, but a lot of students didn't see themselves. Engineering was always looked at to be the white man's job. It was literally a statement that I heard a student use in high school, the white man's job. But it's not like a man do that. Like, what is that? Like, it's not. It didn't seem real. And I think for us, having Black youth, it's really nice. It's showing that, this is a career path that it's not as ambiguous as at times it sounds or it seems at times to a lot of students. It is very much a reality. It is a prestigious job. I think being an engineer is one of the most important careers in the world. People say medical medicine is, but I might be biased. I think engineering is just as important. And, it's important to have people like myself, Black youth, see themselves in those positions that they can acquire, such, I guess, prestige in our society. Or, I think that's why I think it's really important. Not seeing.
I really enjoyed that line. I think, to quote you, if you can see it, you can do it, or you can be it.
Yeah.
Definitely resonates with me in my own journey through mechanical engineering at Western. Yes, I know. But
why not Mac? Why not McMaster? Why?
That's another podcast. But yes, Dean Puri, could you elaborate more on other things that are happening within the faculty outside of welcoming underrepresented groups to be more inclusive? What else is happening to modernize the experience in engineering these days, in engineering at McMaster?
Thanks, Jerome. That's a very good question. I think when you bring any student from a marginalized community or from any other community, our responsibility is to educate them in a way that they become citizens and scholars who are going to transform the world. Very often, we only focus on the technical aspects of engineering. And even when we focus on ethics, we focus on professional ethics, what engineers should do when they are practicing their profession.
Mm-hmm.
But citizenship is so much more than an occupation or a profession. And so, on top of that, we have to make sure that even the technical education that we provide is a sticky education. I often say that in university, one gets perishable skills and durable skills. The durable skills are the ones you remember. And the durable skills come through teamwork, through projects, through extracurricular activities. You remember them. You remember how to be empathetic. You remember how to work in a team. You learn that. You learn EQ, the importance of ethics when working with others. The perishable skills are the ones that if you don't use them, you lose them. So if I were to take you back to your journey at Western, I'm sure there were some elements of higher algebra and higher calculus that you might have forgotten if you didn't use them on a regular basis, so that if you were given an assessment today, you wouldn't do very well. And our challenge really
Fourier
is...
transforms. Yes, continue. Sorry.
Our challenge is to make those Fourier transforms stick. So how do we have sticky learning where more of the perishable learning becomes durable learning? And what we've embarked upon is at McMaster in the Faculty of Engineering is an audacious transformation of our curriculum. Now, when students come in and take engineering classes in their first year, they don't take separate classes. Previously, they would take, when Fei came in, she took 4 engineering classes, but our students currently don't. All those 4 engineering classes have been integrated into one 13-credit class, which starts in September and ends in April.
Wow.
And we spiral all the material from the 4 classes throughout the curriculum. Because when you do a project, it's not as though you are looking at math in isolation and you're looking at design in isolation and computing in isolation. A project is an integrated problem, which means that we have to integrate learning as well. And so what we've done is that there are very few lectures now. We sprinkle lectures, but when students come in, they essentially conduct 5 projects, 1 very small project and 4 bigger projects that become increasingly complex as they go through the academic year. And through the complexity of those projects, they learn the material sticks, they learn how to inquire, they learn how to seek knowledge, they know how to apply knowledge, and they work in teams of 4 or 5. And those teams change as they go from project to project. And we have EDI principles in those projects. So women have always been historically underrepresented in engineering in North America. So we ensure that a team of 4 or 5 will not have just a single woman, but that there will be, so that they don't feel marginalized, right? They don't become just the note takers or bring the, coffee to meetings and so on, or even in virtual space. They're not marginalized and set aside. So the point being that you have to think about a curriculum which we have, but you also have to think about ways of delivering it, which goes beyond the standard call and recall kind of method of teaching. You tell somebody something and then you ask them to recall it and then you assess them.
Right.
But you have no idea if they can apply it, right? So we go beyond call and recall and its application. This has never been done ever before anywhere in the world.
Is there ways to, sorry, not to cut you off. Is there ways to benchmark the usefulness, changing minds, improved scores in certain areas? How do we quantify the results and the impact?
So the first benchmark that we have is that we a couple of years ago, we conducted a study of a pilot of students that went through integrated learning with students who went through learning in the 4 separate units that I spoke about earlier. And what we found was that in each of those cases, when we assessed their learning, the students who went through integrated project-based learning did as well or better. And in most instances, better. They performed better on their assessments. And we're thinking we gave them sticky learning that they can carry forward. Many of those students, when this experiment started about 5 years ago, have now gone on, although they have not graduated, to found their own startups, for instance.
Oh, wow.
So the competencies that we are trying to give through our transformation, which we call the pivot, because not only are we asking the students to pivot and to think about pivoting in the future as complex problems such as the pandemic, climate change, and all beset us with more urgency, the faculty members, as instructors, as educators, we have to pivot ourselves. And so the pivot gives 5 competencies to students. We teach them how to integrate disciplines and solve problems. We ask them to be creative and design solutions. We ask them to work in multicultural teams so that they value diversity. Mm-hmm. And we ask them to be citizens of the world, but to act locally, to think global, act local. And we also teach them, and they learn, that it's very important to be innovative, but that every innovative solution has to have a business case. Otherwise, it will never be applied.
Absolutely.
And so once you impart these competencies to students, I think that their outcomes over the next 10, 20 years are going to be awesome. I know you missed the opportunity to come to Mac, but if you have children, nephews, nieces, cousins, you might want to encourage them to do so.
Absolutely. No, it sounds like you guys are the next, and the horizons are bright for Mac graduates for sure. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. I have one last question for both of you, Dean Puri and Feyisayo. Could you each tell me something that you're hopeful about 2021, the future of engineering, your experience, your time on campus or something in society? Share your insights with us about 2021. We'll go with Feyisayo first.
Okay. I guess one thing I can say I'm really excited for is 2021, not just McMaster, right? Like, are we talking like world or just math?
You can say the world as it relates to engineering or not, just whatever comes to mind.
I mean, for me, I'm hopeful that engineering is slowly becoming a place that is welcomed, that is a society that's coming together that welcomes all. So for so long, as Black and as a about to graduate, from engineering, and even talking to my peers above me that have graduated so long, the common story is, well, at work or in my research group, I'm the only Black person, and I think what I'm hopeful for is that is going to change. I think engineering is, becoming a place that is pushing for diversity, and I'm really grateful that a school like McMaster University is at the forefront of it all, training engineers. I mean, I didn't even know, but I heard about the IP13 course, but I didn't understand the why it was set up. I took 4 separate courses. I didn't know why everything became one, and listening to what the dean had to say about it. I'm definitely grateful that that is the kind of education that future students are being given now, how to be problem solvers, and now including and thinking about creating those efficient solutions, but at the same time thinking of the community that that you're creating it for, thinking of that diverse community that's going to be very much engaged in the your next
Right.
solution. And so for me, I'm really excited that this is what engineering is becoming. It's becoming a place that's just welcomed by all, and all is included in engineering. I'm really hopeful about that.
Great aspiration. Great answer. Dean?
I would say that our future is bright. You have before you a student, Feyisayo, who's done so much. And if she is an example and a beacon, there will be many who will follow her. Not only from the Black community. She's not just an example for Black people. She's an example for us, for all the world. And my hope for the future is that we will have many more students like her. And once you get engaged citizen scholars like Feyisayo, you begin to change the world. And I think the world needs changing. It will change. Feyisayo is right. I've sat on many tables. For many years, I sat at the dean's table at McMaster. And I was the only person of color at the table very many times. And the difference is that when you're a person of color, the expectations of you are different. When you are forceful, you are that angry person. But when someone who's not a person of color is forceful, they're ambitious. They're go-getters. They get things done. So I've been through that morass. I've seen the glass ceiling. And you know what Feyisayo is going to do? She's going to break that glass ceiling for very many of us, for our children, our grandchildren, our nieces, nephews. And when I see her, I see the future, and our future is bright.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on all the topics that we covered today. They're so important, especially now as we're going through Black History Month and a renewed awareness of marginalized people of color. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today for this podcast.
Jerome, thank you very much. You've been an exceptional host. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
Cheers.
From all of us at OSPE, the Ontario Society of Professional Engineers, thanks for listening. Please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.